Welcome back to another Magicka Mayhem training video. This is Ken Erickson. In this video, I'd like to go over shield cards and life cards, ones we haven't really covered in too much detail, mainly because these ones can actually be used without spell cards. Actually, all the cards can be in certain game modes, but we're going to go over just more of the basics right now of the shield and life cards. Basically, with shield cards, you can actually protect yourself. You can create a protective barrier around yourself that can absorb incoming damage from spells that are cast at you. So it says here, 2 shield elements combine to create a protective barrier with 2 strength. We actually call these snap spells. And snap spells are ones that can be cast not necessarily on your turn, they can be cast anytime you like, and that can cause a protective barrier to be formed around you. It requires 2 shield. And you can also make the shield a little bit stronger by combining more than 2 at one time. So if you see here too, it says each additional shield element consumed during initial casting adds +1 barrier strength. So if it has a barrier strength of 2, when you first combine 2 shield elements together, if you decided to do one that has 3 shield elements instead, it would have a barrier strength of 3. And if you decided to do 4, it would have a barrier strength of 4. So each one that's put into the barrier will create one protective barrier strength. So it can also do, you don't have to use necessarily 2 shield cards like we have here. You can also use one of these cards called a Shimmering Shield. It's a regular element card, except this one happens to be a double element card. It's worth 2 elements. It's worth 2 elements. In this case, it's worth 2 shields. Worth 2 shield elements. Same exact thing. If you were to use this together, you could literally just use this one card, and you'll have a shield with a protective barrier strength of 2. And you can add, perhaps you want to add this shield to it. So now you have 2 plus 1. You have a barrier strength of 3. And it basically absorbs that. Now, if you are, let's say you have this shield up right here, and it has a barrier strength of 2, and you're hit with the spell that has damage of 3, your shield would be destroyed. There'd be no shield left. You just shuffle those cards back into the discard pile, but there would still be 1 damage outstanding, and that 1 damage will pass through the shield and go on to you, and you would take damage for 1. But instead of taking damage for 3, you take damage for 1. So that's quite helpful in that regard. So that's how you use shields. Now the life elements work in a very similar way. You can do what's called like a healing snap spell. You can actually heal from it. This particular life card here is only worth 1 life element. It's an element card like all the others. It's worth 1 life. But if you were to combine 2 of these, 2 life elements combine to heal the injured wizard with 1 damage. So now with the shield, if you combine 2 shield elements, it created a barrier of protective that would protect you from 2 damage. When you combine the 2 life, however, it will only heal an injured wizard with 1. And if you add an additional life to that, it'll heal with an additional 1. So if we were to combine this life card here that's worth 1 life, and you combine it with lustrous life, which is another element card, but this is a double element card, which is actually worth 2 life, you would actually get a healing potential of 3, a healing potential of 2. You would have these 2 life elements here would combine to heal you from 1, but if you add an additional 1, this other one right over here, you would actually have it heal for 2 damage. So keep that in mind. And then life is the opposite of arcane, and that's where we'll sometimes see life and arcane will actually be combined, even though they're opposites, into spells like when it comes to summoning elements and things like that. So you'll sometimes see these opposite elements actually show up in the same spell, which is pretty cool and something. So that kind of goes over the shields and life healing. We introduced a little bit of snap spells. I think I'd like to go into snap spells in a little bit more detail in another video. So thank you for watching, and I hope that helps you get up and running a lot quicker with Magicka Mayhem.